Welcome back, everyone. Thanks for joining me on another adventure. Today we're going to take a look at Cool Springs, Arizona. Just a quick note, most fans of Route 66 know that the Disney movie Cars was almost completely inspired by Route 66. When you travel Route 66, watch videos about it, or even read articles about it, you'll hear many claims about how this place or object or whatever is the inspiration for this or that specific thing in the movie. As far as we can tell, most things in the movie were inspired by more than one part of Route 66. So while you will find a few things that are almost directly presented in the movie, most things are inspired by several parts of the Mother Road. That said, it's hard to miss the connection between the name Radiator Springs in the movie and the real-life Cool Springs, Arizona. Located on the eastern slope of the Black Mountains, this stretch of Main Street, USA is home to Cool Springs, Arizona. Originally built as a simple gas and service station in the 1920s, it soon became much more. In the 30s, James Walker brought his family here and they expanded the station to include 8 cabins. Mrs. Walker made home-cooked meals for customers and the entire family pitched in to run the now combination service station and motel. For some reason, Mr. Walker left his family in the late 30s and they continued to run the fairly successful business themselves. In the 40s, Mrs. Walker married Floyd Spadell and he helped run the business with the family. After World War II, Route 66 began to enter its golden age, and Cool Springs became more popular than ever. A place to fill up on gas or water for the car, a nice place to sleep, and a good home-cooked meal were some of the main reasons Cool Springs stayed so busy. But, as those of you who have driven this section know, this part, known as Sitgreaves Pass, is particularly difficult. In the early 50s, this part of Route 66 was bypassed for a newer and straighter alignment that went through Yucca, Arizona. This marked the beginning of the end for Cool Springs, Arizona. Shortly after the bypass, Mrs. Walker left Mr. Spadell, leaving him to run the business on his own. Mr. Spadell quickly realized that due to his age, he couldn't run the business on his own, and in 1957, he asked his niece, Nancy Schoner, for help. Nancy, her husband Chuck, and their kids brought their Aunt Nettie with them, and they all helped run Cool Springs. Despite the best efforts of Mr. Spadell and the Schoners, the recent bypass of this section of the road had almost completely cut off Cool Springs from potential customers. The end of Cool Springs truly came in the mid-60s when a fire burnt down everything but the original pillars. Many years later, in 1991, Cool Springs had a brief resurrection when it was partially rebuilt for the movie Universal Soldier. For the movie, they built a framed station connected to the original pillars. The building slightly resembled what the original place looked like. If you've seen the movie, you know at the end of the scene, they actually blew up Cool Springs, or at least the version they had rebuilt. But the original pillars actually survived the explosion. After that, for about another 10 years, all that remained of the once popular stop was a few sections of foundation and the apparently indestructible pillars. Starting in about 1997, a man named Ned Luckner would drive this section of Route 66, and he would often notice the lonely pillars where Cool Springs once stood. Ned contacted Kingman, Arizona real estate broker Ben Gangloff to find out about buying the property. Ned found out that Mr. Spadel's niece Nancy still owned the property. He tried for 3 years to get her to sell to him, but she wasn't interested in selling it at all. However, in 2001, Nancy was finally ready to sell. She found that she was hopeful that Ned could deliver on his promise to rebuild Cool Springs, Arizona. By the fall of 2004, Ned and general contractor Dennis DeShane had completed the rebuild of the station section of Cool Springs. December 7th, 2004 was a historic day for Cool Springs. For the first time since 1966, power was restored and the lights were back on at this amazing stop on Route 66. Today, Cool Springs has a small museum and both an indoor and outdoor gift shop. While you can no longer buy gas or one of Mrs. Walker's famous chicken dinners anymore, you can get snacks and drinks while you enjoy this amazing piece of history that refuses to die. The large mountain, which serves as the amazing scenic background for Cool Springs, has had many names over the years. In 1857, it was known as Frank Murray Peak. In 1858, it became known as Irataba Peak. It has also been known as Mount Nut. Among miners, it was known as Squaw's Teat. It's currently known as Thimble Mountain.